2 weeks ago, we received the final submissions for our modding competition with over 80 mods for Shapes 2. Now the winners will be taking home a selection of goodies, including for first place an RTX 5080, second place 32GB of DDR5 RAM, and third a 2TB hard drive, whilst providing 2 runners-up with a merch bundle. So today I'm going to be spotlighting some of the mods that were submitted, as well as announcing the winners, and at the end of the video we'll even be giving a little developer update, but more on that later. Since the 6th of July, myself and the team have been looking over the Steam Workshop and have been blown away by the sheer amount of mods submitted, with dozens of options to add to your experience when playing Shapes. And you can check them all out today, and if you're not sure how to install them, I'll make sure there's a link to our Modding Explained video in the description below. But enough of that, let's get to the competition. Now the winners were chosen by the whole team, with each team member having the opportunity to vote for their 3 favourite mods, considering the following criteria. So we had originality, technical achievement, presentation, gameplay, and popularity. Now given the number of fantastic mods, it was a much harder competition to judge than I personally expected, and I must say we were all very impressed with the submissions. Now whilst we did update the game to 1.1, causing some unexpected issues with mod compatibility, I would like to assure you all that we also ran the mods on an older 1.0 branch so that every submission was able to be viewed and considered. Now before we get to the winners, I want to quickly highlight some of the incredible mods that have been produced, and whilst this isn't all the mods, we highly recommend checking out the Steam Workshop to see if anything jumps out at you. Now what took me by surprise was just the sheer variety of mods that were available. Some brought new features to the game, such as the Fisher mod, which uses shapes to bait other shapes. It's a fun way to convert resources, and in itself it's a really creative idea. But on the flip side, we had some mods which brought popular quality of life additions to Shapes 2, notably the folder icons mod, allowing players to add icons to your blueprint folders. It also brings favoriting folders and allows them to be moved to the top of the library, and any archived ones are hidden unless toggled, allowing you to clean up your blueprint lists and pick which folders are viewable depending on the circumstance. And when it comes to larger factories, planning is a must, and the factory notebook, notes, whiteboard and calculator mod allows you to do exactly that, providing an in-game planning tool with a single scalable window, so you can plan out your factories without tabbing in and out of the game. As you can see just from this handful, there were some really well thought out and developed mods, but with it being a competition, we had to round it down to the top 5. So let's get on to the winners. Now in 5th place we have the Crystal Expansion mod, which adds 2 new buildables, the Dissolver, which allows you to dissolve shapes and extract the dominant shape, producing an unstable fluid. This can then be brought to the new crystallizer, and if the dominant shape in the unstable fluid is part of the shape passing through the crystallizer, then this will be turned into a crystal element. It's a great little addition that adds a brand new level to design in your playthroughs, whilst also adding 5 new crystal variants. So congratulations, keep an eye out on your mail as you'll be receiving some Shapes merch in the post. Now 4th place goes to the Space Platform Display mod. This allows you to place a platform-sized display in your world. This is great for helping you organize your factories, but also opens the game up to some fun pixel art, adding another layer of fun for players to enjoy. We'll also be sending some merch your way too. 3rd place is the Mod Manager, which implements some of the core features we were already considering adding to the modding experience, allowing players to enable and disable mods without restarting the game. You can also back up your saves, check for mod compatibility, and even upgrade old incompatible saves to a compatible state. It's a great mod that we feel could be a staple for players who enjoy modding their saves, and well deserving of the 2TB SSD, which we'll be sending their way. Now, second place goes to the Shape Recipe Lab. This allows you to copy and paste a shape code into the lab, and in doing so, the mod automatically analyzes the shape and generates a production tree showing you how to create the shape. It is a fantastic quality of life addition for any player and is great for players like myself who can get a little overwhelmed with the more complicated shapes later in the game. So we'll be getting in touch to send you the 32 gigabytes of RAM your way. Which brings us to first place, and the team were absolutely blown away with this mod, which completely reshapes how you play the game. The mod is Arctic Ruins, which adds new lore, cinematics, and a whole new game mode, with new game mechanics that see you reverse engineer the shapes produced from the vortex and store them back in the asteroids. It's a really creative idea that expands on gameplay whilst keeping it within the realm and theme of the game. So huge congratulations to Papier Corb 2292 for first place and receiving the grand prize of a 5080 GPU. Now obviously a huge congratulations goes to all the winners. We will be in touch in regards to sending out your prizes, but again we'd also like to say a huge thank you to everyone who took part, and if you're interested in keeping up to date with Shapez 2 and future events and competitions, then subscribe if you haven't already and make sure to hit the bell icon. But with all the excitement of the mod competition out of the way, it's time to get excited for the future of Shapez 2. We are all about open development here at tobspr, and so when we have the opportunity to share something we're working on, we will. And today I'd like to touch on Shapez 2 Update 1.2 and puzzles for Shapez 2. Firstly, let's touch on Update 1.2. Now, Shapez 2 is built in Unity and currently uses Unity version 2022.3, and whilst this has served the development of the game since pre-early access, in June 2026 the version was officially deprecated. Now as such, 1.2 will see Shapez 2 upgraded to the latest Unity long-term support version, which is 6000.3, which is 2.5 years newer than the 2022.3 version. But what does that mean? Well, as developers, we will see a bundle of new features, bug fixes, and quality of life improvements across both the engine and editor, which will potentially aid us in future updates. But our main intention for 1.2 is to get the game working to a feature and stability parity level as we currently have live with version 1.1. So whilst you'll most likely not notice any big changes in 1.2, it does provide the foundation for future updates to directly benefit from this update. But the question is, how does one upgrade the engine? Is it just a case of clicking install? Well, unfortunately not. Whilst it is a relatively simple process requiring a few steps, it does cause a myriad of issues. So for example, the project is at first opened in the new Unity version. Unity then handles the re-importing of any assets that need to be processed differently between the versions. Now at this point, you're then informed of issues arising even before launching the game. For example, Noah, our Unity developer in charge of the upgrade, had to investigate and fix an asset that had breaking code changes between the versions, and then after fixing this, the project script was able to be compiled without errors. This meant that the game was then able to be played and tested in the editor for any obvious regressions, which is essentially an unintended change that is presumably a consequence of the upgrade. Now once a regression is found, you then have to investigate the issue and research what changes led to the issue so that a fix can be applied. Then once all regressions were resolved on Noah's local hardware, the latest state is then handed over to our quality assurance team, where within minutes numerous other issues were uncovered, which then needed to be once again reproduced so that they could be fixed. Now whilst this upgrade only took 4 simple steps on paper, this whole process has taken around 2 weeks to finally reach a state where the game is both fully functional as before and stable. And I'm pleased to say that they've managed to make some progress on longer standing issues as well, such as Vulkan crashing when using AMD cards on Windows, or DX12 randomly crashing when zooming the camera in and out. Now, looking over some of the screenshots that Noah sent to me, you can see some of the various bugs that we've now fixed, such as the cursed transparency shaders on show here, which you can see a before and after. But you may have noticed a lack of asteroids on show. Now, this is because they were also causing crashes after the upgrade. Now, we also had an issue with color rendering due to low bit depth and shadows being stripped from builds. Now, this shot here is using backup shaders, which are yellow or magenta, to highlight whenever there was a missing shader variant. Now, as you can see, there were plenty of shaders to fix here. And my personal favorite, the new train lines, which have an infinite amount of trains spawned and would happen when you return to the game after minimizing the screen whilst using DirectX 12 in full screen mode. Zooming out from this would actually cause another shader bug to occur, causing invalid colors and the bloom effect, which you can see on the trains here. So as you can see, the team have had their hands full working on this upgrade, and whilst 1.2 is coming along nicely, some of the team have been working hard on Shapez 2 puzzles. Now, we've already mentioned it has evolved into something much grander, and whilst we're not quite ready to share the details on that, we did want to share a little first look from our artist Nigel, who is working on the first environments for our puzzles, and as you can see, it's taking on a different look. Now, I will emphasize this is all very early work in progress and does not represent the final gameplay, but the idea here is that each of the puzzles will have background environments, whether that's the dreamlike shapescape, where the shapes take on a life of their own, or something like the lab which they've just started working on. Now, with these individual puzzles, it gives the team a lot more freedom to play around and have some fun with the visuals. And speaking of which, if you do have some great suggestion for a background theme for a puzzle in the future, then why not let us know in the comments below. But I hope you have enjoyed this video. We're hoping that all our future videos will have a segment dedicated to developer updates, so do keep an eye out for the next video. But if you're wondering what to watch next, why not check out our guide to factory mistakes and how to troubleshoot them in Shapez 2. But until next time, thanks for watching.